Hey guys, welcome back to Honest Straightforward Reviews. Today I'm bringing to you a comparison of the iPad Pro. Both of these are M1 iPad Pros that Apple just released, between the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch. I'll be looking at the differences mainly in physicality and also the screen and such as that. Also, I'll be looking at performance after that, and towards the end I'll be looking at everything else that you might find interesting about these. Before I continue, I'd like to add that this channel is completely funded by me. I don't have any sponsors. If you appreciate that, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and it'll ensure that I can make more quality content such as this. Okay, first things first, let's get into the tech specs. So height, width and dimension. So the 11-inch is 9.74 by 702 by 203.23, and the 13-inch, I'll call it 13-inch, 11.9-inch is 11.04 by 8.46 by 0.25. Okay, so tiny bit, like really minuscule, it's bigger. Okay, this is 1.03 pounds and this is 1.5 pounds. So this is the silver color. Okay, it's very nice silver. It's not too bad. And if you guys want to see the proper unboxing of these, I've got this in the channel and I'll put it in the description as well. So that's the silver. I don't mind this silver. Okay, it's a lot better. And that's the space gray. The silver is starting to grow on me, to be honest. With the newest silver, they look really nice. They're not too bad at all. All right, going back to the tech specs, the similarities of these are they've got ProMotion, which is Apple's fancy way of saying 120 hertz panel. So both of them have that. It's got True Tone, Liquid Retina. However, the brightness peaks at 600 nits for this, and this can go up to 1600 nits brightness. Now, the reason for that, there is a bit of a catch. So it is Apple calls it XDR, which is Apple's way of making HDR content sound fancy. So has a HDR display. This does not. Okay, the 1600 nits only is applicable to content that is played in HDR mode. So if you're just like, both of these are absolutely bright and they're outside and you're playing just normal content, they'll be both at 600. Okay, they both come in 128 gig, 256 gig, half a terabyte, 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte with Face ID. The LiDAR scanner, the flash, True Tone flash and the camera are exactly the same. There's absolutely no differences. Both have 5G, Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5 capabilities as well. They also both have a M1 chip. Okay, so the M1 chip for the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models come with a 16 gig RAM. Otherwise they come with 8 gigs of RAM. Other than that, what I've done is I've tested quite a few like things such as Geekbench 5, and I've done 2 stress tests of the 3D Mark app. Okay, so I've done an extensive stress test that runs for about 20 minutes on both, and what I found was the iPad 11-inch does throttle a bit more than the iPad 13-inch, and what I found was the difference between, depending on what you're doing, is about 8%. Okay, over time, and the longer you run it, that grows to about 10 to 12%. Okay, but not more than that. They both throttle at about the same, but the performance of the M1 chip on this is slightly better. Okay, but that's not going to be the main reason you'll get it. Now, when you're using photo editing software like Adobe Photoshop and things like that and Lightroom, what I found was that basically it's the same experience on both the screens. I didn't find any advantage of having a bigger screen. However, what I did find the bigger screen is useful at is video editing. So if you've got video editing software on it, the extra room does help because you're doing a lot of things when you're doing video editing, and also when you're doing split screen and things like that, and also when you're doing the picture in picture mode, they're a bit better. But what I found with the 12.9-inch iPad is it does wear your arm down after a while. Not that this doesn't either. So this does it as well, but it's not as bad. This wears my arm down a lot quicker. Now, what are my thoughts about the whole iPad situation. So I think the silver is very nice for me, but it'll be a hard pick for myself again. I'll probably be picking the space gray still. I love the black color. I would have loved to see a black iPad, a black iPhone, like we saw in the iPhone 5 back in the day. The iPhone 5, instead of space gray, came in black. The space gray was black in that. So personally, color-wise, I would go the space gray. When it comes to screen size, it's a very, very hard pick for me because it's got HDR content. Just for HDR, it's got the extra brightness. The mini LED, okay, that's what they call it, having it, because it's got localized dimming zones. Okay, so instead of having every pixel like in an OLED being turned off and on, it's got localization. And to be honest, it is darker in a dark room. Okay, the blacks look a lot blacker in the black room. I don't know if it's worth it to pay that much. Also, I like the convenience of having an iPad. The iPad for me, myself, it screams convenience. Okay, otherwise I'll be using a MacBook Pro for my use. So if you like the convenience, I would go the 11-inch. And realistically, when it comes to performance, the M1 chip basically doesn't really improve in the bigger iPad. It does improve up to 12% if you're doing a lot of encoding and things like that. But if you're using just light stuff and you're using everyday use and things like that, I don't see a difference. The main thing that would have made a difference for me is having a screen that is even quicker, you know, for example, a 144 hertz screen instead of 120 on both, you know, that would have been a real nice deal breaker for myself. Other than that, the cameras are the same, everything else feels the same. The speakers, let's talk about something else. So if we have these together, so if you look at the speakers, they're tiny bit bigger on the iPad and they sound a bit better as well when it comes to bass and clarity as well. What I found with songs that I was playing, this is clear, okay, this is clearer, this is not muddy, okay, by any chance. This instruments are still clear enough. However, this is well clear and the bass is a lot more defined. Okay, now let's look at the thickness. Okay, if you guys can see any difference. Okay. Probably look at this end. Okay, this does look to the eye a bit thicker, because I don't know if that's placebo because they're saying it's thicker and I can see it's thicker, but that's what it is. Okay, let's look at the screen size and the difference between that. Okay, when you're looking at it online, there's not much of a difference, okay? And like I said, there's not much of a difference here either, but that extra size is, if you're doing a lot of processing work and you're doing a lot of video editing, things like that, that extra real estate is a little bit helpful. But then again, you can always get a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro for that and have your phone for everything else. But if you want portability, personally, I would go for the iPad Pro 11-inch. Alright guys, that's the end of it. Thank you for sticking to the end. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Which one would you go for? Which color would you go for and why? And also, what do you think about the mini LED? Alright guys, take good care. Bye-bye.